Robert, I'm sure we've all seen that Bruno Fernandes interview with Sport Canal 11. We'll be going through the main quotes and giving you my opinion on what has been said by Bruno Fernandes. They are quite damning quotes. I've waited for all the interview to come out and I'll be reacting to what Bruno Fernandes did say in that interview that he did. There were some interesting quotes in there. He talked about his future speculation and then we're going to talk about it as well. So this is what he said. He said, "The president of Al Hilal spoke to me. He called me directly, never sent me a message saying he wanted to talk to me. They wanted him to play in the Club World Cup with Al Hilal. It was a love that started back in the Jorge Jesus days. He already called me in 2023. He was talking about the move to Saudi. He said, "I can't complain. I'm very well paid, but obviously the difference is huge. That was never what guided me. If one day I have to play in Saudi Arabia, I'll play in Saudi Arabia. My lifestyle will change. My children's life will be sunny. After 6 years in Manchester, in the cold and rain, I'll be playing in a growing league." He said, This was the interesting one. "I could have left like many people did, and said I want to leave. I don't want to train. I just want to leave for 20 million or 30 million. So they pay me more on the other side. But I never did that. I never found a position to do that. But I felt that the empathy and affection him the club had were the same. But there comes a point where for them money is more important than anything. The club wanted me to go. I have that in my head. I told the directors this, but I think they didn't have the courage to make that decision. I decided to also stay because of family reasons, but because I genuinely like the club. The conversation with the manager also made me stay, but from the club side, I felt a bit like if you leave, it's not so bad for us. It hurts me a lot more than hurting. It makes me sad because I'm a player. They have done nothing to criticise about. I'm always available. I always play good. I always play good or bad. I give my all. Then you see the things around you, people who don't value the club as much and don't defend the club as much. That makes you sad." Now again, pretty interesting by Bruno Fernandes there. Now we know obviously all the quotes from last year came in linking him to Al Hilal in Saudi. They wanted him for the Club World Cup. They were linked massively to Mo Salah as well previously. So listen, it is gonna be totally different. I think this is Bruno's last season at the club. Unfortunately, I think Bruno's one of my favourite players, and the quotes are quite eye opening in what he said. Now again, this interview was conducted a while ago, but again, it's still the club wanted him to go, and the club at that point they needed anything for a bit of money. And I think you look at Bruno. For me, he said, "I was going to leave a season ago. I won't say where, but I would have won many trophies that season. Bayern, Inter, and PSG were keen. Manchester United made him one of three players on 300k per week." So I think it was probably Bayern. I mean, they won what quadruple last season. Champions League. They won Champions League. They won the French League. They won the Super Cup, and they won another, I think, the French League Cup as well. So it was probably PSG. But again, Amorim wanted him to stay at United. Amorim said that he's one of the most valued players at the club. I think we understand that. And I think in terms of Bruno, I value him as a club legend. The way that we've watched Bruno all the way from his debut in that Wolves game all the way to now, he's been a player that not only gets goals and assists, but someone who works incredibly hard for the team. Um, and again, that's something that not many people have been able to do. He said he was linked to Al Hilal, but if you want me to go, we won't say that it's not a good offer for us because it's massive money. Obviously, it was £100 million deal from Al Hilal to get Bruno to leave, and I think that certainly was very interesting. I think Bruno, for me, I think one of the main reasons he stayed, and we were very excited, it was around mid-June time, I remember, because we were linked to Cunha, we were linked to Mbeumo, and Bruno Fernandes finally announced that he was staying. And again, it was it's the greatest news. Well, not the greatest, but it's one of the best news that we had in that window. I think Bruno, for me, was a player that's of massive value. He's a leader. He's someone who leads by example, but also he's a vocal leader and someone who puts his all on the pitch. And as I said, it's not been reciprocated by some of the players at the club, and it does make him sad because he's done everything for the club. A lot over the years, and I think what Manchester United insist, the hierarchy insists that he's still part of the future, which again I think he should be, and there's no ambition to sell him. He said, "Until you win trophies, you're not valued as much, regardless of the club and league that you're in. I was valued. What makes me most has to be my club. What values me most is the club. Although lately I feel like I'm on thin ice. In England, we need when the players start approaching 30, they start to look for replacements. The issue of loyalty isn't viewed the same as it used to be. I could have left in the last transfer window. I would have earned a lot more money." He then talked about how I would like to stay at United as long as I feel desired. I would like to experience the Spanish league and fight for the big titles. I have many connections in Italy. My daughter was born there. I already thought about returning to Portugal. Obviously, Sporting would be the club that he goes to, but I don't want to drag myself there. I want to add it and even try tried district football at an advanced age. You play in the district for love, you feel different. I have friends in the district, and I think Bruno's just love for football is adamant. You can see that on the way in which he carries himself on the pitch. Someone who just wants to give his all. When he came to United, it's a big money move at the time. He was linked to a lot of clubs. It was a January window move, and I think you look at the way he's got output, goals and assists. Again, the first thing that any attacker is kind of based on when they first come to the club, and he's got that. But he's got so much more in his game, and I think unfortunately is going to be his last season. And again, apparently United are ready to break up their entire midfield with Bruno, Casemiro, Ugarte and Mainu facing in certain futures. Fernandes will assess the situation after playing for Portugal in the World Cup. Saudi Pro League could obviously be an option for him. The 31-year-old has a clause in his contract where the Premier League clubs can buy him for around 56.6 million. No, sorry, clubs outside the Premier League can buy him for 56.6 million. So, yeah, I mean, again, United insist there's no desire to sell Bruno Fernandes. But again, Al Hilal are not guaranteed to make another move. They're going to probably move on to other options. But again, there's a lot of contrast. Manchester United players sense this could be Bruno's final season. However, you have the other side of the media saying United plan to keep him in the future. And I think, listen, Bruno for me, he's not for sale this summer. Again, we will have to wait and see what happens. This is what Rob Dawson said. I think the stance from United is the same as it was last summer. I think they will leave the decision up to him. In that same interview he gave with Man United reports, he let that door open. He had been there. There's been no conversation of what would happen next summer. He would leave it up until the World Cup. I think what will happen with United at the end of the season, we'll have a conversation and say to him, it's up to you. If there's a big offer that comes in, it's probably not going to be 100 mil from Al Hilal, but if it's something in that region, then we consider it. Now, my opinion, I want Bruno to stay at the club at least one more season after this. Yes, he's 32, but you look at his consistency. He's just a joy to watch. He's one of my favourite players at the club. In terms of output, in terms of everything really, he's a typical United player. And I think, again, over the years, we struggled to get players who wear their heart on the sleeve, and Bruno's a very passionate player. And I think, yes, he's getting older, and again, a lot of people wanted to take that money last year. It was a lot of money, £100 million for Bruno. You could have easily reinvested that into the midfield, into the defence. It would have been a massive opportunity to do that, but he decided to stay. I think the club were adamant that they wanted to. Well, Ruben Amorim is definitely adamant they want to keep him. And I think for me personally, yes, it was an opportunity to get some money for Bruno, but I think he's still got one more season left at the higher level. And I don't think Bruno's a priority player to get rid of. Again, I know a lot of people are saying Bruno leaves and Casemiro leaves and Mainu is the replacement for Bruno. Again, I can definitely see that happening. But for me, I want Bruno to stay at the club one more season. And I know, listen, he's a fantastic player, and again, it just depends on what happens in the summer. Whether clubs come in, where United's at next summer, whether Ruben Amorim's still the manager. There are a lot of factors, but for me personally, Bruno should be the one player that United are not building this team around. But I don't think he's the biggest problem at the moment. I think Casemiro and Ugarte are two players for me who we need to replace before you go to Bruno Fernandes. Maybe even a wing back before you even look at Bruno. He's not a problem. He's an ultimate professional. But apparently the club wanted him to leave. They said they didn't value him as much. And again, it was up to him. So it was a big decision for Bruno to stay. And I think this season he started off fantastically well. I think about it, 7 goals, 7 assists already, something ridiculous like that. Like his output's ridiculous, and we know the quality that he has for this team and the way in which he adds in an attacking perspective. Again, it's more of a different role for him. But yeah, for me, I want Bruno for at least one more season. I think he can still add a lot more to this team. Let me know your thoughts.